I'm ready.
You can start the thing, ma'am.
Yeah. Distinguished chairperson of this conference, Dr. G. Ramanamurthy Garu, respected principal, Dr. R.V. Krishnaya Garu, Honorable Director, Professor N. Venkatrao Garu, Professor of ECE Department, Dr. K. Soundararajan Garu, Professor of CSC, Dr. B. Bhavani Garu, Professor of Mechanical Engineering, Dr. S. Raghubabu Garu, Professor of EEE, Dr. G.R.K. Murthy Garu, Professor of Chemistry, Dr. K. Kirti Kumar Garu, and delegates from prestigious institutions across the country. Good morning, everyone. I am Vasumati, and it's a matter of great honor and privilege to welcome you all to this international conference on engineering research and management, which is being organized by Chebroolu Engineering College. I would like to convey special thanks to our coordinator and organizing committee for their terrific efforts and diligent work in organizing this conference. Our former president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, has said, "Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever." His life is exemplary to all of us. As teachers, we should be in continuous pursuit of knowledge. The world is experiencing multiple transitions. In the backdrop of emerging need for research, the need of the hour is we must continue to make efforts with unequivocal commitment to find pathways to come up with innovative ideas. In this connection, it is extremely essential to bring together experts in the fields of science and technology so that we can realize together the potential of research in teaching profession and education. This ultimately resulted in organizing this conference. The objective of this conference is to explore several complex interconnected themes, including how to make tangible progress towards a futuristic world and to evaluate and highlight the need to analyze critically how to research and how research and publications are playing a key role in the career of teaching professionals. Research and technology have penetrated into virtually all areas of operations of education and entwined with educational practices. Some of you are eminent professors, some are novice to the field, and hopefully many of you are young researchers in need of broadening the field and gaining depth of knowledge. We all have different backgrounds, but our motto is similar, and we all want to move to the next level of expertise in our respective fields. To effectively benefit from technology applications, it is essential that education professionals set themselves ready for transforming their practices and keep identifying effective ways for transformations in their context. This conference will aid us to take a step forward to fulfill our aspirations. May I now take the pleasure of inviting our principal, Dr. R.V. Krishnaya Garu. He is a multifaceted personality with double MPhil, one in ECE from NIT Warangal and one in CSC from JNTU Hyderabad. He was awarded a doctorate in ECE from JNTU Anantapur. He is a man of distinct vision, a prolific scholar, an able administrator, and a renowned academician. He has more than 150 publications in national and international journals. He has organized and attended several conferences and workshops. He served in various capacities at many reputed engineering colleges for more than 2 decades. He is the backbone of this institution and works day in and day out and aspires to see our institution as one of the best in the country. He keeps motivating the students as well as the faculty to dream big and come up with novel and innovative ideas in their respective field. His recent academic and co-curricular initiatives helped our college win many accolades. Now, I am pleased to invite the chairperson of this conference, Dr. Gajula Ramanamurthy Garu, on behalf of Chebroolu Engineering College. I would like to present a glimpse of his profile. Dr. Gajula Ramanamurthy Garu has been associated with the Faculty of Engineering and Technology, Multimedia University, Malaysia since 2005. Currently, Dr. Murthy is rendering his services as a professor in that institute. He has authored and co-authored several national and international publications and is also working as a reviewer for reputed professional journals. Dr. Murthy is actively associated with different societies and academies around the world. He had made his mark in the scientific community with his invaluable contributions and gained wide recognition from honorable subject experts around the world. Dr. Ramanamurthy Garu has received several awards for his contributions to the scientific community. His major research interest involves engineering and technology. I humbly welcome Dr. Ramanamurthy Garu to commence the session and share his abundant treasure of knowledge with us to create a better tomorrow. It's over to you, sir.
Thank you. Respected principal, distinguished senior members of the organizing committee, dear fellow colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor for me to be a part of this international conference on engineering research and management organized by Cheburulu Engineering College under the prominent leadership of Sri K.V. Krishnaya. In fact, we are classmates in our undergraduate level, and we are very happy to continue our friendship and our collaboration as of now. International conferences of this nature make engineers to learn their soft skills. Basically, we have a opinion that engineers are not good public speakers. The reason for that is most of our curriculum focuses to book study, become bookworming, and then live with your machines and not to interact mostly with the humans. This made us not be eminent speakers when it comes to the conferences. We have an exposure with our research personnel, with industry personnel, as well as with our fellow scholars, and interact with them and then know what kind of research is currently active and how can we contribute to this research forum. So thereby, I welcome all the participants to come out very freely and then share their knowledge and experience and then make their presence felt and then get awarded with their hard work in the research field. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Ramanamurthy, sir. And Pulara, sir.
Sir, chapanda.
Sir, can we start?
Yeah, we can start, sir.
Call the first.
Sir, hello.
Sir, tell me, sir. Announce the first person, sir. Announce.
Sir, చెప్పండి ఏదో చెప్తున్నారు కదా. First person has ID. Sir, hello, sir.
Sir, tell me, sir. You are audible, sir.
Yeah, first person ID is M19, sir. M19.
Right. Who is the person with the ID M19? Please unmute yourself.
Dinesh, sir.
Sir, tell me, sir.
M19.
Yeah, M19. The person with M19.
Yeah, M19, sir. First person.
Sir. Yes, sir. Please unmute yourself and start presenting. What is the name, sir? What is the name? M19 ID. What is the name of that person?
Little Flower. Flower.
Yeah, Little Flower Kunchala. Little Flower Kunchala.
Yeah, sir.
Please unmute yourself and you can start your presentation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, ma'am. You can start your presentation by sharing your screen, ma'am. I just gave the permission.
Right, sir. Sir, give me a permission for share my screen, sir. I'm unable to share my screen.
Dinesh, sir.
Sir, make me a presenter, sir, so that I can share my screen.
Ready?
I think you have to start your video as well. Enable your video.
రెడీ అయ్యావా చెప్పడానికి అంటున్నా.
Ma'am, now you can share your screen, ma'am.
పద్మ రెడీ మరి చెప్పడానికి 15 మందిగా ఉంది. నాకు చెప్తే నేను రెడీ చేసామని కదే.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Dinesh, sir.
Yeah, yes, sir, yes, sir.
What happened?
Nothing, sir. Little
Coming,
ma'am, you can now share your screen, ma'am. I have given the permission.
Okay, sir.
You can share your screen and start presenting.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
A very good morning to one and all program committee members. Dr. R.V. Krishnaya sir, principal sir, Dr. B. Bhavani ma'am, and Dr. G. R.K. Murthy sir. A very good morning to all the participants. So thank you for giving this opportunity to present my paper, sir. I am going to present my paper with title A Job Recommendation and Prediction with Uncertainty Estimation Using RNN Model. And my colleagues are co-authors are Dr. PSV Srinivas Rao sir and Dr. PVRD Prasad, myself and Mrs. J. Kavita ma'am and Dr. G. Charles Babu sir. Coming to abstract of this topic, this is mainly useful for job recommendation or prediction for ongoing students. So currently college going students will take more time to get the job. So moving forward, that educational quality by preparing better prepared learners who could effectively propose over an auspicious way. So we used here RNN model. RNN is nothing but recurrent neural network model for predicting students' jobs. So straight away we can provide the students information based on information prediction, so that the text outcomes indicates that the recommendation models accomplish finer execution over the state of a particular student. Coming to introduction, here we have used educational data mining to calculate the students' performance. It is one of the most important topics for prediction. So basically, data mining is nothing but to extract the useful information from the given database. Raw information can be extracted. That is knowledge driven process. So educational data mining, EDM, is developing technique which extracts meaningful knowledge in the context of educational field. So nowadays, many of them using our educational data mining techniques for predicting jobs for many students. So researchers contributed a lot of EDM theory to learn, investigate educational psychology, and also data sciences is related to the learning analytics. Many different machine learning opportunities are there to forecast students' presentation and students' family details. We gather family details of the students as well as educational background also. So deep learning is a state of artificial intelligence research. Currently, deep learning concept is highly used in voice and sound recognition techniques. Coming to our topic, RNN, recurrent neural network model, it is used to predict the student's job. RNN is a different of a neural network. It obtains the output value based on the past and current information using the recurrent loop of the network. So the proposed RNN model aims to predict a student suitable job through logistic classification analysis. Classification will be done one hidden layer with so this classification can be done on different layers. I have taken here the hidden layer, that is nothing but ReLU activation function. So we implemented that function. The proposed model is able to predict a student job with accuracy around 85%. Coming to more detail about educational data mining, so it is an emerging discipline concerned with developing methods for exploring the unique and increasingly large scale data that come from educational settings and using those methods to better understand students and settings so that we can provide job for students. Coming to the implementation, a recurrent neural network RNN is a class of artificial neural system that places associations in middle of units form a graph chart along with an arrangement. It is mainly used to handle the time series data so that we can gather the series of data from all of the students from different educational institutions. So RNN may be on settle on utilization of consecutive majority of the data. It is completely data based. So RNN are called repetitive at result. They perform those some undertaking for each component of a grouping. So this can be described as a memory. RNN can be also, we can say that it is a memory capture of the data. So this can be shown in the diagram. This is the ReLU model. So these are the different layers of artificial intelligence. So these are the background formulas we have observed by using RNN method. So I conclude that all college going students can be benefited by using RNN method to getting their jobs, by using job prediction method, by using educational data mining techniques. Thank you one and all. Thank you very much sir, for giving this opportunity.
Hello, ma'am. Can you give some real-time applications using RNN? You have any idea about the real-time applications where it can be used in real-time applications?
Yes, sir.
Neural network.
This is our real-time application only, sir. Getting jobs for many students from various educational institutions.
Yeah, that is fine.
This is a
that I
real-time example,
understood.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, some more any examples? It can be used any other applications. I mean, any other real-time applications.
Yes, sir.
It can be used any other applications.
Sir.
Can be used these kind of recurring
Yes,
neural
sir.
network can use any
for
other
students as well as for many employees also it can be useful, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Sir.
Yes, sir. Please call the next person.
Yes, 23, Padmavati, ma'am.
1 second, ma'am. I am giving permission. Padmavati, ma'am. Second, sir.
The ID is 23, sir. Paper ID, and his name is Padmavati. Yes.
Yeah, ma'am. Padmavati, ma'am. Now you can share your screen, ma'am, and start presenting.
Okay, sir. Share screen lock. Meeting settings.
Ma'am, in the bottom you can find, ma'am, there are several options.
Yeah, yes.
In that
Yes, sir.
you can
Yes, sir.
share screen.
Presentation.
I request all the remaining participants to please mute yourself. I request all the remaining participants to please mute yourself.
Share screen. Done.
Ma'am, click on the share screen button.
Madam.
Then you
Yeah, sir. I on that one, but I am not getting to.
Ma'am, one second, ma'am, 1 second.
Right. Okay.
Ma'am, check now, ma'am. Ma'am,
Okay, sir.
sharing your screen.
So guys, in this video, I'm going to show you how to share your screen, including photo, document, Dropbox, all of that. And right there, you also see screen. Click on screen.
I enable that one on that one, but I'm not getting start share.
Ma'am, which internet you are using, ma'am? Are you connected with mobile internet or any other?
Wi-Fi only, sir. Okay,
Okay.
just
So that's how you can share your screen. As you guys click on screen,
Yeah, ma'am.
click start now.
I think you are connected through mobile. Okay.
yes, sir. Through mobile, but
Okay, no
net is
problem,
the
ma'am.
Wi-Fi only, sir.
Okay, ma'am, no problem. You can directly open your PPT. You can start your presentation.
Sharing screen.
Minimize that particular screen which is showing here. Minimize. Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Okay.
Sir, is it
Yeah, ma'am.
visible for you, sir?
Ma'am. It is
Yeah,
visible.
okay. It is visible, ma'am.
Ma'am, again you are disconnected, ma'am. Ma'am, again you are,
Oh, no.
Already opened it.
Sir, myself am Padmavati, sir, research scholar from JNTU, Hyderabad, and it's my pleasure to participate in this conference. And my area, I am doing PhD from the computer science, cloud computing, and especially in that particular, I am doing in the IaaS, that is the infrastructure as a service. As the introduction part, I am telling that what is the cloud computing and what are the different sources and the services with the cloud computing and what are the deployment models and what is the thing I am going to do for the load balancing in the case of the cloud computing. So in nowadays, that is everyone is using computer and cloud computing, and every small organization also utilizing the services of the computer. So there is a chance to store a large amount of data, that is a big data, and to give services to all the people who are using the computer services, that is there is a need of a service, that is a cloud service. And here that is a cloud service going to give the services, that is a platform and software and infrastructure, and based upon utilization the user has to pay the money. So like for example, if you are using the electricity and based upon utilization of the electricity, they are giving bills, so they are providing the bills, so like that, and we are going to pay the bills like that. For the utilization of the service, cloud service, the customer has to pay, depends upon their service. So that is in the case I am doing here, I am considering that is the infrastructure as a service. And in this infrastructure as a service, why I have chosen this infrastructure as a service means that is we have to provide the resources, that is all type of the resources, And in this particular resources, we are using that is virtualization concept. And in this virtualization concept, that is that there will be the different data centers located at different geographical areas. And in these geographical areas, that is one survey, one data center, in one data center, the serv the cloud the computers may be the, that is some systems may be the overloaded, some systems may be the underutilized. And to that is for the uniform distribution of the workload, we are using the concept that is the load balancing. And there are the different cloud service providers, and all the service providers are existing with the load balancer. And as their requirement, different cloud service providers are designing their load balancers. But as a research topic, I select the load balancing algorithms, and I design the load balancing algorithm by using the first, as a first paper I selected, that is the ACO, that is ant colony optimization for the to design the load balancing algorithm. And second paper, that is the Firefly concept. And ACO and the Firefly are both are the particle swarm optimization techniques. And nowadays, that is the machine learning concept was famous. And to solve the real-time combinatorial problems, we are adopting the machine learning concepts. So that's why I adopted the machine learning concept, and I designed one load balancing algorithms. And in this, as a part of my load balancing algorithm, I adopted the concept, that is the first one is the data collection, and next one is the pre-processing data, and next one is the classification, and next one is the threshold value. And based upon the threshold value, the load will be distributed. And first the data will be collected in the form of the jobs and virtual machines, and a different form of the memory, hardware, and everything will be, data centers also will be there. And after collecting the data will be pre-processed. That means here some jobs may be the incomplete, some job requests may be the less number of instructions, some jobs may be the with more with something nil instructions. So like that, that is that after the data collection, that is pre-processing will be taken place. And afterwards, all the data, that means all the virtual machines and the jobs data will be stored in the form of the table. And based upon this one, that is here the workload will be calculated for every virtual machine and which are existing in the different data centers. And based upon this workload, that is here threshold value will be calculated. And in this, that is a machine learning concept, that is a linear regression is we are adopting. And in this linear regression, based upon the historical data, previous data, here that is we are calculating the threshold value. So what is the motto means that every virtual machine workload has to be exist, that is less than or equal to the threshold value. So and afterwards it will verify that is whether the virtual machine is existing with that is a more workload than or less workload than the threshold value. If that is the workload is less than the more than the threshold value, then that particular workload will be distributed to the another virtual machine, another virtual machine. And afterwards, that is here threshold calculated. If that is and afterwards we are adapting, that is if you want to, if you this linear regression is the prediction based algorithm, and here we are predicting the threshold value. And how the prediction is performed means that is based upon the parameters and based upon the what is the error. And error means that is here difference between the prediction and the actual values. So that is a standard deviation. So what we are doing means based upon the parameter values, we are minimizing the standard error, that is the standard deviation. So like that, parameters values will be taken, and afterwards threshold value will be calculated, and here based upon this, that workload will be adjusted. And here that is one more thing we have to note is that because of this, yes, because of this, that is here virtual machine, that is migration. So migration will be minimized. So what is the disadvantage with the migration means when the workload is distributed from the one virtual machine to the another virtual machine means here that is everything that is a historical data and the state of that particular task has to be migrated from the one machine to the another machine. So this is the somewhat that is the time taking process. And here if the and one more thing, that is the networking has to be be taken place in this virtual machine migration. So here we are taking care when we are distributing the data first itself. And one more thing, that is based upon the threshold value, we are considering that is what is the overload of that particular work, and at that time only we are migrating the work from the one place to the another place. So that is instead of stopping the work in the middle of the stopping the job in the middle of the execution, what we are doing means at the starting only we are calculating the burden of that particular machine. So like this, that is a migration of them. For the migration, it will take less time. So like that, I am here. And one more thing, here I am executing. And for this calculating this, I am using some formulas. And one more thing, here I am executing this particular algorithm in the case of that is cloud sim simulation environment. And in this cloud sim simulation environment, I taken different types of, that is various number of virtual machines, various number of the data centers, and for the each job I am calculating that is execution time, and that is what are the SLAs, and everything was calculated, and based upon this I summarized my result in the form of the charts. And here meanwhile I calculated individual performance of my algorithm, and at the same time I compared this algorithm to the existing algorithms, and hence I proved that is my algorithm is better than other algorithms. And here I am concluding that I am concluding that this is because of the machine learning approach I had taken, and virtual machines migrations was minimized, and the green computing was included. So that is, I can say that this particular algorithm works better than the other existing algorithms. So sir, thank you for giving this opportunity, sir. I am feeling very pleasure to participate in this conference, sir. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir. Dinesh, sir.
Sir, tell me, sir.
The next M25, sir. Madhura Gangaya.
Madhura Gangaya.
Paper.
Yes, sir. M25.
Shailesh, some name is there. Dinesh.
Yes, sir. I am checking, sir.
Varun.
Yeah. Varun, sir.
Varun. Connect to Varun, sir.
Yeah, sir.
His ID is Varun.
Varun already connected.
Yeah.
Hello. Varun, sir. Varun, sir. Varun, sir. Yeah, sir. Varun started sharing the screen. Varun, sir, you can start, sir. Your screen is already visible to all the people. So you can start your presentation, sir. Varun, sir. Varun, sir, are you there? Varun, sir, please start.
Hello.
Laura, sir, I think, sir, if you have number, you can call, sir.
Okay, 1 minute, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Sir,
Hello.
Yes, is my
Yeah.
audio?
Hello.
Can you hear my audio?
Yeah. You can
Yes, sir.
start, Varun.
So, good afternoon. Good afternoon
You
to
can start.
everyone waiting. Yeah. So our topic is breast cancer prediction using image processing and machine learning. We are also making a file magnetic resonance imaging file transfer application. So the reason for choosing this topic is because breast cancer is currently the most widespread and prevalent form of cancer among women in the current generation. Globocan estimated that 2.1 million new cases and 0.63 million deaths occurred in 2018 alone. Estimated 30 to 60% of breast cancer in low resource countries suffer from locally advanced breast cancer. That means that the tumor of the cancer can spread to other parts of the body from the breast. This happens when it's not identified in time and the diagnosis is not correctly done. So here the graph shows you the average rate at which the occurrence of breast cancer is found. Early detection and accurate diagnosis is extremely crucial in patient survival rate as the treatment can be administered in time. So the treatment used for pre-operative procedure is neoadjuvant chemotherapy. It is a form of radiation given pre-operative before the operation. So to identify this, we use a process called maximum intensity processing, or that is passing high radiation beams through the organ, which helps identifying the extent of the disease and the exact location. So MRI is the process used for this, and it's an extremely powerful medical imaging tool.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah. Tell me. Yeah, you
So
can
MRI
carry
detects
on.
the tumors that are missed by conventional techniques such as mammography or ultrasound. It can additionally assess the tumor size and foci, whether it's multifocal or multicentric cancer. So in the study conducted, the final aim is in carrying out the standardized method throughout the medical community, which can set a system for analysis instead of mere observation by the radiologist. There will be a lot of stability and transparency in the proposed system. So I'm having trouble with moving the slides. Yes, so we have conducted a literature survey among other studies in the same field, and we have found that MS Sindasuri conducted a similar study in 2014 where she compares the results of three filters: the median filter, center weighted median, and Wiener filter. They show a very low value of PSNR, which it should preferably be about 30, but the ratio is below 30 in her results, and the mean standard error also is very high, which should be low. The same results come with JM Vakmare in 2013, which is not that impressive. So in our proposed methodology, we have the first MRI image that is scanned is uploaded to the cloud, and from the cloud it is acquired by the image processing software in the mobile application. There we perform pre-processing and thresholding or segmentation. After that is done, the feature extraction is done to extract morphological features from the image. Then finally, the data is presented to the mobile application of the user. This is the original MRI image we have used. This is an example. We had performed the algorithm on 3 images. This is one example of that. As you can see, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of disturbance. There are only 2 bright spots, that's the tumor, but the rest is noise, unwanted grain particles. So the first step is to perform pre-processing. The purpose of this is to remove noise, sharpen the contrast, highlight contours, and detect edges. Remove noise will take out all the edges. Contrast will increase the bright and decrease the dark, so you can have a better contrast between that. And it detects the edges between the tumors, so you get a definite region for the tumor. For conducting this, we have used a combination of three filters, that is the 2D ordered statistical filter, median filter, and a special filter. The 2D filter actually statistically orders the pixels using the sliding window technique, which is a MATLAB imaging technique where the neighboring pixel, the values of the neighboring pixels, if ordered, even the center pixel will get ordered. So it depends on the neighboring filter, which overall it detects the edges. So as you can see in this image, after applying that filter, we get clear boxes. The edges is very well defined. After this, we applied a combination of two filters, which is the median filter and a special disk filter. The median filter will help in getting the median of the value by taking the neighboring pixel values and taking their median and replacing the value of the pixel by the median value. So this does not affect the sharpness of the image, but the overall median is used. F special gets a square matrix with the data of the neighboring pixels. It's a Gaussian low-pass filter which allows only low values of intensity to pass through. This is the image after applying the Gaussian and median filter. You can see the edges are slightly softened and the tumor is more well defined with the reduction of salt and pepper noise, the unwanted noise particles. So after this, there's a comparison between two segmentation techniques. One is fuzzy Siemens method and the other one is Otsu's thresholding method. As we can see, the fuzzy Siemens method, it's moderate in the speed but less accurate. Otsu's thresholding is extremely accurate and it has good speed also. So in this study, we have used Otsu's thresholding method, which sets a thresholding value in order to segment the image into background and foreground, where the background will be your noise and unwanted granules and the foreground will be the tumor. So optimal threshold value is when you get the best separation between the background and foreground. As you can see, after applying the Otsu's thresholding value, how the tumor is clearly visible and the background noise is blackened. So the next step would be feature extraction. Here the characteristic morphological features will be taken out and the response will be evaluated. This will be done once before neoadjuvant chemotherapy and once after the first cycle. And then the results of both will be compared. The comparison is done based on RECIST criteria. That is the response evaluation criteria in solid tumors. The criteria states that there can be 4 types of response, either complete, partial, progressive disease or stable disease. So the conditions for each is given. Complete response is less than 10 mm reduction in the major axis. So this is this is the major axis that you calculate, the longest line from one part to the other of the tumor. And the minor axis would be the shortest part. So based on the improvements or the effect that the tumor has after the neoadjuvant chemotherapy, we can classify into the 4 types. And then this will help identifying which stage of cancer the tumor is in. So the results carried out by show very positive result by our study, because we have before applying the second order statistical filter, we had a peak signal to noise ratio of 16.7, but after applying the median filter, it drastically improved to 37.38, which is well above the prescribed 30. And the mean standard error was 1382, which dropped to 11.8, which is extremely good, saying that there is no error. The mean error is very low. So this is an indication of the performance and the validity of the model. So in FutureScope, we are proposing a mobile application which can be used by doctors and patients as well. The doctor can log in with his or her credentials into the app, and he will be able to track all the previous cases and open any one of them to start a new case. The MRI image is directly uploaded through the cloud from the MRI scanning center, and the doctor can remotely access the data. And the app will be able to generate various results based on the data. So this is the layout of the app, where you can see that this is the launch screen, where after entering, the doctor can either enter his details or it can go into the patient screen where he enters his details. And then if you enter in the doctor's mode, you get the original MRI image that you have uploaded with the details of the MRI image. And then you can also, the next screen will show you the final image, where you have an option of auto detect tumor measurements. If you press that, the app will automatically detect the major axis, minor axis, intensity, and density of the tumor. So based on this, the doctor can have a real-time view of the tumor. The app will also tell you in case the doctor has viewed the MRI image or he has not viewed it. So in conclusion, I would say that this study discusses a non-invasive preoperative solution which assesses responsibility and of the malignant calcification, whether it's benign or malignant. If developed with neat user-friendly manner, it could change the world of medical imaging, and the doctor can share his images in full clarity without any loss in clarity. The project can also be implemented for other medical imaging requirements such as CT scan or X-rays or other MRIs. So it's not only limited to breast MRI. Thank you. Would there be any questions?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it, sir.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you. Dinesh sir.
Yes, sir. Tell me, sir.
Sir, 27, Jyoti ma'am.
Yes, sir. Jyoti Sridhar, sir. Sir, is the name?
Yeah.
Okay. Jyoti Sridhar, ma'am. Jyoti Sridhar, ma'am. You are not audible. Jyoti Sridhar. Jyoti Sridhar, ma'am. You are now unmuted. Ma'am, Jyoti Sridhar, ma'am. Ma'am, I think you are disconnected your audio. Please reconnect it, ma'am. Yeah. Ma'am, it is now connected, ma'am. You can speak.
Sir, voice is not audible, sir.
Jyoti Sridhar, ma'am. Ma'am, you are connected with your audio. We are unable to listen you, ma'am. Ma'am, please plug out that earphone and use the device audio. Ma'am, please plug out the earphones and use the device audio. Ma'am,
Sir, some problem is there, technical matter, the voice
yes, sir.
not.
Just let us call the other person, sir. After that presentation, you can ask.
Yeah, sure, sir. M29.
M29 name, sir. What is the name of that person?
The other name is Nagamani. Who's?
Yes, sir. Nagamani.
Wait, sir, I will check it.
Yes, sir. She is there.
Jagdishwari. Yes.
Jagdishwari. 1 second, sir.
Jagdishwari, ma'am.
Yeah, 1 second, sir. Someone share it.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, ma'am.
We are from team 29, M29.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. You can start, ma'am.
Good morning to all good morning to all the dignitaries present here. Our paper is about improving security and privacy using machine learning techniques in decentralized cloud storage. As we know, many of the companies and enterprises have been moving towards a decentralized cloud because it's been most reliable than a centralized cloud. Because in a centralized cloud, usually if there's a single malfunction, it affects the whole cloud. But whereas if it's a decentralized cloud, even though one of the node is affected, the resources that are stored in other clouds are secured. So what we would like to do or tell is that if this decentralized cloud is also equipped with security, proper security and privacy preserving schemes, it would be a better resource. So our objective is to provide security to the resources in decentralized cloud and also protect their privacy. Okay, the abstract would be, firstly, we would like to propose a scheme that would safely allocate resources in the decentralized cloud. The scheme that we used is all or nothing transform, wherein we make sure that everything is safely secured, or if the bits are secure and other bits of the other node are not secured, we couldn't download the resource from the cloud. So we would like to guarantee security using all or nothing transform. And to preserve privacy, we employed machine learning techniques, and to reduce the computational cost, we used unidirectional proxy re-encryption scheme. So with these schemes that we enabled here, resources could be easily managed by the enterprises or by the organizations, and thus it enables the enterprises to manage their own environment.
Coming to system architecture, first the resource which the user want to upload into the decentralized cloud is encrypted using the UPRE encryption scheme and by using all or nothing transform technique. Then after encrypting the resource, encrypted resource is divided into slices, and those slices are allocated into the multiple nodes of the decentralized cloud using minimum and minimum slice technique. And once they are stored in the decentralized cloud, they are again re-encrypted. And whenever the analyst want to get the resource is uploaded into the cloud, the re-encrypted thing, the ciphertext is given to the analyst. Then the analyst takes the ciphertext, the re-encrypted text. He will perform machine learning algorithms to get the original result. Coming to the techniques used, first is all or nothing transform. In this scheme, first the resource which is divided into multiple blocks is stored into the decentralized cloud in such a way that if a part of the encrypted resource is accessed by some other person, then he couldn't decrypt it, or he couldn't get the original complete resource. In this way, this scheme provides security to the resource that are stored in the cloud. And coming to the unidirectional proxy re-encryption scheme, In this, the key is generated for public key and private key of the user is initialized, and to perform the re-encryption in the decentralized cloud, key generation is done. This is done with the help of private key of the user and public key of the analyst. By combining this, we generate the re-encryption key, and encryption is performed using first in the start. Before uploading it, the encryption is done using the public key of the user, the resource, and that ciphertext is uploaded into the decentralized cloud. And inside the cloud, the re-encryption is done to the ciphertext with the re-encryption key we have generated with the public key of the analyst. Coming to the minimum node technique, and in this technique, at least one or more slice should be missed in each of the decentralized cloud, so that if any person have the access to any one of the node, then he couldn't get all the slices, because some of the slices of the resource are missing in each of the nodes, so that he cannot get the whole resource. And minimum slices technique is tells how the resource can be divided into a minimum number of slices. And this homomorphic encryption technique is used to add noise to the encrypted ciphertext in the decentralized cloud.
In conclusion, what we did is to first thing to provide security to the resources that are stored in cloud, and second to also preserve the privacy inside the cloud. So for securing resources, the strategies that we used are splitting and encrypting the resources, splitting them into different nodes, and that is distributing them into different nodes. So that way we are able to secure. And to provide to preserve the privacy, we used UPRE scheme. So this work can also leave room for extensions such as error correcting codes to control errors in the data, and this work can also be extended in a way that we can investigate the use of information dispersal algorithms to reduce partial overhead. That's it. So this is our paper. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Pullaras.
Hello, sir. Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Can we go for Jyoti Sri, ma'am? Jyoti Sridhar.
Ask him, sir.
Jyoti Sridhar, ma'am, please unmute yourself. Yeah. Okay, ma'am. You are now visible, but you are not audible, ma'am. Ma'am, you are not audible. Ma'am, you are not audible, ma'am. Your device is showing that you are connecting audio again. Yeah. Ma'am, still you are not audible. Pullaras, sir, can we have that ma'am number there?
Sir?
If we have that ma'am number, you can make a call and you can connect audio from my device, sir.
Oh, 1 minute, sir. I will call him.
Sir, please call her and ask her to speak over the phone, sir. So that will be audible to each and every person who are there in the meeting.
Yeah. మ్యామ్ మీరు స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేయండి అక్కడ ఇందులో మాట్లాడండి ఈ ఫోన్తో ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేయండి. హలో మేడం మీరు స్క్రీన్ హలో మ్యూట్. ఓకే ఒకటి డిస్కనెక్ట్ చేయమని చెప్తాను
సార్.
మేడం మీరు రెండు హలో 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 మ్యామ్ మ్యామ్ ఇప్పుడు మీరు చెప్తారా అక్కడ స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేసి నాకు ఇక్కడ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేయండి, నేను ఇక్కడ వాయిస్ అక్కడ షేర్ చేస్తాను. ఓకే ఓకే మ్యామ్.
Yeah, ma'am, it is audible. Hello? We are getting a lot of noise. It is audible, ma'am, but we are getting a lot of noise. Please speak by keeping phone somewhat away from your mouth, ma'am, that it will be clear. Okay, ma'am, continue.
Yeah, okay, ma'am.
You can continue, ma'am. Please continue.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, can I go on, sir? Shall I go on?
Yeah, you can start, ma'am. You can continue.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. So my paper is on the topic of impact of COVID on textile industry with respect to Prakash industry. So COVID-19 is a pandemic which is suffering a lot. The world is suffering a lot. So it is why I got this topic. Why? How COVID is affecting our businesses, especially textile industry. So I am taking a Prakash industry as a sample size and I did my analysis on it. Including the impact of COVID crisis on the crop businesses and their responses. A quantitative interviews were conducted to make the research of this year. The small business people are anticipating different strategies to cross the losses. So this study advises literatures and crisis management by highlighting the different types of losses encountered by the small business in different phases. This study is going to examine how small businesses can develop alternative marketing strategies, innovative tactics, and new concepts in order to survive from this crisis. This paper is to regain their businesses. A survey method is used to collect the data in the gas industry consideration. One sample data is used and factor analysis is applied to derive factors in order to reason the business, and discriminate analysis is used to design a business model. Okay. So, before entering into that thing, so first of all, I would like to say, what is crisis? The unexpected event which happens to bring the organizational climate and can also bring the economic environment that is called crisis. Then what is business crisis? A business crisis happens when an unexpected situation puts the safety of the company or organization at a high risk. The risk escalates to business and creates to rewind the company cannot control and cannot resolve it. If this is made on, in this case, the business may collapse. So here I have taken my textile industry as a sample size. Why I have taken textile as a sample? Is the whole textile production has been gradually increasing in recent years. The textile industry is a labor intensive and is one of the largest employers. The textile industry is one of the major sectors that contributes 44% of fashion products and depends on mostly on China. The people living standards are increasing and different trends are also observed. So here my study goes on three objectives. The first one is to study the impact of COVID-19 crisis on cloth market in the cotton industry. Second one is to explore required to rebuild the business. And third one is to identify economic helping packages to apply to sustain in this crisis. So here I have taken my methodology goes on. Initially, the research is done using the literature review method to reach the objectives of the study as well as also. So further, the discriminative research is done using survey method and randomly selected business within the Kashmir district. So my sample design is observing 140 people, and the questionnaire is given to 87 and informing them and collected from 56 people. So the data collection primarily runs through direct discussions with the people by distributing questionnaire. The questionnaire had 28 questions, and the respondents are given marking the rate from 1 to 5 by using the Likert scale. So the pilot study is surveyed. The 21 are given in final study. My population size is 175. I given response to 120 and 87 responses responded, and clearly the 56 people are given complete information. The secondary data is also used to select some books and journals and websites. So my analysis to analyze my data, I use an IBM SPSS, and one sample data is done by to test the normality of the data, and factor analysis is done, and discriminate model is also done to find out the business model. Here, finally, the results of this analysis are I have found out some 11 steps to analyze finding the factors which are finding to recover the small businesses. First one is adopt an innovative plan, consider the employee needs, facilitate the prices design, and work with employees, increase publicity, develop links with online sellers, maintain and foster open relationship with customers, allow the employees to escalate the issues, identify and repair broken links in the supply chain, and respond timely, and prepare for next unexpected. So here I have given two factors. The first factor is which is supporting the factor for small businesses. So from the factor analysis, I made all the 11 into 4. One is from them adopt an innovative plan and consider the employees' needs, work with employees, maintain honest and open relationship with customers. These are all the 4 important factors which support the small businesses. And I have so from the 11 I derived 4 challenging factors for the small businesses. So then they are facilitate the crisis, baseline, identify and verify the broken links in the supply chain, and develop links with online sellers prepared for an expected risk. So these are all the challenging factors of small businesses. So totally by applying the factor analysis, okay, leading is telling that. So the strong agreement. So respondents are giving the strong agreement towards the small businesses supporting factors. So most of them, the findings of my study are, most of the business people are male and within the age of below 45 with initial investment less than 30 lakhs. So the supporting factors are significantly contributing to rebuild the businesses. And 86% of people are representing their opinion towards the tax deductions that help them along the crisis period. And 70% of people are representing their opinion towards the repayment of financial year DRC. And 66% of business people are representing their opinion. So bank moratoriums help them to regain their businesses in the crisis period. And 67% people are believing that so business insurance with the support of government, so whether they have business insurance, it will help them a lot to come across this type of crisis in case instabilities happen. So my suggestion, since you subscribe from the study are, so businesses should be reorganized. The following factors are mostly significant to restore the business. So they are to adopt innovative plan, consider the employee needs, and facilitate the crisis break plan, work with employees, increase the publicity, build a culture of trust, confidence in the customers, maintain the honest and open relationship with customers, and allow the employees to escalate the issues, identify and repair the broken links in the study of the supply chain, and respond timely and be prepared for the unexpected risk. Unexpected risk. So small business owners should be ready to face the challenging period. So thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you.
Hi, sir. Tulare, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello.
Sir, can we close with vote?
Sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, Vasmati ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, ma'am, you can.
It's my pleasure to propose vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Holding such a conference at a relatively short notice would not have been possible without the invaluable support and guidance of our principal, Dr. R.V. Krishnaya Garu. We are indeed grateful to him. We also owe our gratitude to the coordinator and the organizing committee, Professor of ECE Department, Dr. K. Soundararajan, Professor of CSC Department, Dr. B. Bhavani Garu, Professor of Mechanical Engineering, Dr. S. Raghubabu Garu, Professor of EEE, Dr. G.R.K. Murthy Garu, Professor of Chemistry, Dr. K. Kirtikumar Garu, for taking the responsibility to knit the threads together to make this event happen. We would also like to extend our sincere thanks to our director, Professor N. Venkatrao Garu, for his valuable suggestions. We would like to place on record our deep sense of appreciation to our Dean of Academics, Professor K. Venkatramaya Garu, for the support and assistance. Most importantly, we would like to acknowledge our gratitude from the bottom of our hearts to our esteemed chairperson and keynote speaker, Dr. Gajula Ramanamurthy Garu, for kindly accepting our invitation to chair this conference. Thank you once again for your valuable time and concern. Finally, on behalf of Chevrolet Engineering College, we would like to congratulate and also acknowledge our gratitude to all the participants for their active participation in presenting their papers. Thank you so much for your overwhelming support. This conference is the first one of a series of annual conferences exploring how research and technology could be effectively utilized in teaching, learning, and educational administration. I am delighted to let you know that our institution will be organizing similar annual conferences that capitalize on our strengths and build on our common commitment to promote effective use of our experience in diverse fields. On June 10th, we are organizing another such conference, and the last date for submission of papers is 1st June. On this note, let us conclude this memorable event. Stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you very much.
Pulara sir, can we close the meeting?
Yes, sure, sir.
Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you.